Today I'm going to talk about some of the projects we've been working on in the Houston district designing for pedestrians. I'd like to start introducing the regional priority areas over there in the Houston district and some of the funding sources. We've seen, Pete mentioned, the trend in terms of increasing pedestrian crashes over the past years. As a result, one investment priority area has been pedestrian safety treatments. The other priority area is on eliminating gaps, really on trying to connect where people live to activity centers, be it employment, parks and recreation, transit, and really thinking about how can we get a continuous pedestrian network. As you can see, some of the funding sources for pedestrian improvements can come from the Highway Safety Improvement Program, in terms of federal funding, Category 5, congestion mitigation, air quality, and today I'm going to talk about projects that were funded with Category 9, which is Transportation Alternative Set-Aside Program. This program used to be called the Transportation Alternatives Program, TAP for short, and before that, the Transportation Enhancement Program, TE for short. So a high-profile project in the Houston district has been the Dutch intersections. And you all have Dutch intersections here at College Station. The Dutch intersections in Houston are located along I10 between State Highway 6 and Beltway 8. There are 3 intersections, one at State Highway 6, another at Edridge Parkway, and another one at Derry Ashford. This is in the Energy Corridor district. So yes, Dutch intersections are commonly used in Europe, in the Netherlands. It comes from the Netherlands, and they designed them to provide safe bicycle and pedestrian crossing. Yes, European context is different from the US context. So in the US, we're still evaluating it and thinking, how can we extrapolate those lessons learned? In Europe, we do have a context where we have mixed-use, high-density residential development. So there is a mix of users. And so what Dutch intersections do is that they reduce the complexity of the intersection. How do they go about doing that? Well, they try to separate the users by then having a separate crosswalk for cyclists and pedestrians, and also having separate waiting areas for cyclists and pedestrians, as well as trying to separate right-turning vehicles from pedestrian and bicyclists through the deflector island as a refugee of sorts. Another important comment here is that Dutch intersections allow pedestrians and cyclists to cross only one direction of traffic at a time. And we've heard that before during this talk, that just will reduce the complexity of the intersection. Vehicles are also set back. We can see the advanced stop bar. The idea there is to allow drivers to better anticipate and avoid potential conflicts at intersections. So this is the Dutch intersections at the Energy Corridor, starting from y'all's left, the before, the after, and the rendering. One of the main features of the Dutch intersection, as I mentioned, is a deflector island, which separates the curve ramps. We have the crash-worthy push button and pedestrian signal. Also, we can see the separate crosswalks, continental for pedestrians, and elephant marking for cyclists here. As I mentioned, 3 intersections were funded for $3 million. The idea, again, is to make movements more predictable for the different kinds of users and reduce conflict at these intersections. Another feature of the Dutch intersection is the reduced turning radius. Marcus mentioned it, that as you make tighter curves, the turning speeds lower. By lowering the turning speeds, yes, we do have some seconds delay in terms of vehicle movement, but with the reduced speeds, we create safer environment for pedestrians. We also create this expanded pedestrian area where additional amenities to improve pedestrian safety can be located, such as lighting. The takeaway here is a before and after photo. We increased in the Houston district the width of the curve ramp to 10 feet. We have the true separated crosswalks. Note the location of the push button at the mast here. Over here is at the approach and the landing midway through the curve ramp. The idea here is that a cyclist will pull up, push the button, and continue through the elephant markings. Now, what have we learned? We've learned that if basically you're having a mixing zone here at the intersection, we're not separating pedestrians and cyclists like the Europeans are doing, we're having a mixing zone here at the intersection, do we really need 2 crosswalks? Another takeaway was this is a retrofit that is best done during new roadway construction. Why? Because it gets expensive real quick. Just thinking about the mobilization and the traffic control, especially at a busy interstate such as I10 frontage road. There are definitely questions and further evaluation needed. For example, what does a reduced turning radius do in terms of freight movements and their turning radiuses? The other important thing to consider is in terms of turning radiuses and slowing turning speeds, what does that do to delay in terms of peak hour congestion in the Houston area? And a final takeaway is how can we make Dutch intersections more intuitive for pedestrians that might have disabilities, some visual disabilities, when we have 2 types of crosswalks or different consistencies in terms of the location of the push button. Now I'm going to talk about projects that eliminate gaps in the pedestrian network. This next project is an 8-foot pedestrian path. It's located close to Beltway 8 and I-10. This project is considered a regionally significant gap filler. It's about 1 mile in length. Here in this corner, we have a very trendy mixed-use, high-density residential development. It's basically city center and town and country area. The project connects, you can identify it here in red, connects to the Terry Hershey Hike and Bike Trail, which is indicated in yellow, and that takes you all the way to the Energy Corridor. This project here is $600,000 in funding, and it's TAP funds. Now, this project has a safety component for pedestrians. Just looking at this intersection, Beltway 8 at Boheme, we can see how busy and complicated it really is. Why is that? Because all southbound traffic on the frontage road of Beltway 8 have to turn here at Boheme Drive. You have to turn. So what does that tell us? That there's going to be a lot of turning movements and there's going to be high turning speeds. So in order to minimize the exposure of pedestrians to vehicular traffic, because they're trying to cross to go into this shared use path and to Terry Hershey, what we did at the Houston District is that we created an alternate pedestrian path along the east side. Now, the community at City Center and people living east of Beltway 8 can just go south, and we are leveraging existing infrastructure. They can go south and go under Beltway 8 at this existing underpass, reducing pedestrian conflicts in the area. Now, this next project is located on I10 East, close to, on FM 526, close to US 90. And basically, FM 526 is also known as Maxie Road. This project is in a low-income neighborhood with low car ownership. So as you can see, there's a lot of people that walk on the shoulders of FM 526. Because this is an area with low automobile ownership, it's a great opportunity to provide needed pedestrian infrastructure and connect the residential community to the Maxie Road park and ride, basically to the bus stops along I-10, Herman Park, Maxie Park, as well as to the goods and services along FM 526. This project is also funded with TAP funds, $2.5 million. This next project is real small. It's located within the loop. It's along I-10 and Heights. This project is an important connection because it connects the community north of I-10, which is a Heights neighborhood, down this path here, which is eastbound I-10. You can see how we already have a good buffer besides the frontage road, and so the path is a 10-foot path that is going to be located right here and will allow the people to then walk and connect to the Yale shared use path and ultimately to the White Oak Bayou and the commercial area south of I-10. The next project is Mason Park pedestrian bike bridge. This is located southeast of downtown in a low-income neighborhood near alternate 90 and I-45. This project, the purpose of it, it's very simple: cross Brays Bayou. There's no good way to cross Brays Bayou in a 5-mile radius. So what this project does, it connects the Lawndale Wayside community to the trail, to the network of trails. This project is a 2012 transportation enhancement project. It led in 2016 and will out construction in 2018. Just to finalize the projects, this is Hunting Bayou, shared use path, another gap filler near 59 and the loop. Basically here, we're eliminating a gap in a shared use path along a bayou. This project connects Hutchinson Park with McKee-Leland Park, and it's again 2012 Transportation Enhancement Project, $1.3 million in funding. To wrap it up, at the Houston District, we did a self-assessment in terms of ADA compliance. We did find 236 barriers in terms of ADA compliance and mobility. We were able to fix 181 of those issues, and we are looking in greater detail to 33 major barriers and trying to really identify sources of funding. Thank you.